But Zach says, Chip, is UNC the new Tennessee in regard to coaching search chaos? You are not the first. You are not the second. You might be the fifth person I've heard reference the Tennessee Greg Schiano search as one that has come to mind with what's going on. So, yes, the latest on North Carolina and Bill Belichick. There's no latest. You got anything here? But Danny, what at this point, as you were processing it and as we're having to continually discuss, I enjoyed our conversation on Saturday morning where you even were able to bring up your own experience. It says, if this is to happen, here would be the challenges for Bill Belichick. As we're now several days separated from that, several news reports, a Pat McAfee appearance, a Manning cast appearance, and then, as we're continually working our way through, do you have a good sense of where this thing is headed?
No, I have no idea where this is headed, much like I did with Tennessee when they were all over the map. By the way, I've seen a lot of people making that joke. This pales in comparison to Tennessee's coaching search. Like, this is interesting. It's going off a little bit off the rails. That was absolutely gonzo. Like, we're talking about a coach was hired, a radio host makes a petition and, pounds the table, says we can't hire him. There's dirt that's drug up on Greg Schiano going back to his time at Penn. Like,
I was going to say, we don't have anytime you invoke the name Jerry Sandusky as part of a coaching search, it's a different level of crazy. Yeah,
we have not seen Bill Belichick, the character assassination attempt, come up yet. I don't think that happens. That was a whole nother level. Back to your point. So the more I've thought about this, because when Tom Brady's on there and they're making fun of it, like, how could you picture Nick Saban in college and, hey, and he's like, well, we don't even want you here. The one thing that I think bothers a lot of people, and this bothered me when I was, getting recruited, because you see a lot of people that you see a completely different person, the person that recruited you and the person that you play for. And we had an offensive line coach named Brad Scott, who eventually became head coach after he left us at South Carolina. One of the nicest, best recruiters you could ever have. On the field, he was the meanest SOB there was as a coach. Like, it was a shock. Everybody was like, wait a second, who is that guy? They did not recognize him. My point is, I don't think Belichick is going to fake it, which will, of course, he's not going to get the 5-star that wants to be called every day. But you know what he is going to be able, if he takes the job, you know what he is going to get? Some players that want to be coached by a 6-time Super Bowl winning coach who they know is going to coach them and yell at them and be hard on them. Like, there won't be any surprises. So I'm not bothered as much by that. Like, how could you envision him coaching? I think he's going to be who he is. I think he'd be a great coach who would maximize the talent on the roster. So I'm not that, I think it still could be a good hire, but we'll see if it actually happens.
I think it'd be a terrible hire. I mean, he's 72. Like, he's going to be there for 2 years, and he's just pretty much.
Steve?
That's what I'm saying. He's setting it up for his son. So he's not. You're hiring Steve Belichick if you hire Bill Belichick. Let's be real. Like, that's what you're actually going to get. But more than that, like, as far as the possibility of this happening, clip it, save it. I might look like an absolute moron. Nothing new, but. When was the last time you heard a coach mentioned for a job opening for like a week? And then that coach was going on to multiple appearances, kind of talking about it, but not talking about it, and then ended up getting the job. Like, if UNC wanted to hire Bill Belichick, guess what? They would have hired Bill Belichick already. They wouldn't have dragged it out. They wouldn't have sat there reading through his 400-page manifesto, apparently, of how he's going to do things if you put him in charge. Like, to me, just the overall vibe, and Chip, you know better than me, so stop me if I'm wrong and call me a moron. The overall vibe of how North Carolina has approached its football program throughout its entire history is completely opposite of how Bill Belichick approaches football. So it doesn't make any sense from a cultural fit. It doesn't make any sense from a coaching fit, because I'm not going to sit here and tell you Bill Belichick isn't a brilliant football coach. He is. But a lot of football coaches understand scheme. They understand X's and O's. Bill Belichick has never coached at the college level. His father did at Navy. That's not the same thing as what you'll be dealing with at North Carolina.
Tom, at North Carolina for like 2 to 3 seasons. Have you seen the photo of little Bill in Kenan Stadium?
It's a completely different landscape now. And Bill Belichick is not going to be wanting to put in the work to do all the recruiting that you have to do. So, yeah, Danny, certain players would love to play for Bill Belichick. But the players you're going to need to actually win football games are not going to want to do it because he's not going to woo them. Like you said, he's not going to get the 5-star players. And also, as great as he is, what's his record with and without Tom Brady? Because last I checked, Tom Brady left Bill Belichick and won a Super Bowl. After Tom Brady left Bill, he didn't win anything. He
dragged Mac Jones to the playoffs, right? Like he had some coaching.
Matt Castle was 11-5. That's always the one.
The one season, but he's won like 45% of his games in his career as a coach without Tom Brady.
But to your point about like how because I will jump in on that real quick. The hire of Bill Belichick, if some of the reporting around Bill Belichick's demands or plans are met and followed through, would be a wholesale change to how North Carolina spends, invests, and prioritizes football. Because it would be taking the spending for staffing, the spending for your resources, the spending on players, and ratcheting it up to the point where instead of being like 4th in the ACC, top 40 nationally, you'd all of a sudden be on the level of Florida State, which invests more in football than any other program in the Atlantic Coast Conference. Florida State's like top 15, like they sort of in that 10 to 15 range. And this is, again, if North Carolina is willing to totally go all in on this for 3-4 years of Bill Belichick and then Steve after that, it would be wholesale changing the way the university treats the football program. It sounds to me like the 400-page Bible, which I've heard called the Tar Heel Talmud. Actually, I've heard that it basically sets up a situation where Bill says, okay, I would like 2 staffs. I would like one staff that is entirely built out for, going out there and recruiting, general manager, roster construction. I would like unprecedented NIL investment for North Carolina that would rank, among the best in the entire country and certainly in the ACC, which to me, to simplify it, is him saying, yeah, if you buy me a team, me and all my famous coaching buddies can coach them up. Mm-hmm. And to which I say, what's that going to get you? Right? I mean, it could get you those 10, 11 wins. And Bubba Cunningham has even said, we can turn in 7, 8 win seasons. How do we get to that 10, 11 win mark consistently? How do we make it so we don't pop for an ACC championship just once every 5 years, but we all of a sudden are in contention with a little bit more consistency? If North Carolina believes that what Bill Belichick can set in place, where one staff does the roster, one staff does the ball coaching, and we can buy a team, if they believe that that can get them that on a consistent level, then that would be the reason why Bill Belichick is hired. Now, whether North Carolina is willing to hand over the reins of the athletic department and whether there are enough checks being cut to be able to meet all of those expectations, I think that's why we have the situation we have where Bill Belichick's camp is the ball is in North Carolina's court. And North Carolina is we believe we've made a fair offer. We await to hear from Bill Belichick. And then it's gone silent because right now there's just a gap in terms of what the expectations are going to be.
Because neither side wants each other. Let's be real.
I think there's half of one side.
People at North Carolina that love the idea of Bill Belichick.
Which is a problem because the other half at North Carolina, I think, wants no part of it.
Mm-hmm. But let's read the reports coming from NFL people. No NFL team is interested in Bill Belichick. Belichick is legitimately surprised he's received so little interest from NFL teams who are going to have openings. He's the greatest coach in the history of the NFL, but no NFL team wants to hire him. Should that not be a red flag for North Carolina? Or is he just using this trying to get his name in the conversation so maybe an NFL team says, you know what, Belichick still wants to do it.
But here's what he wants. He wants control. That's exactly why we're having this discussion now, is because Carolina might be the one that says, sure, you can pick your personnel which in today's NFL and given his track record post Tom Brady and even in any draft, they're like, nope. The NFL saying, forget it. We might consider you for a coach, but I don't think I think he wants full control. I think this is all part of leverage and negotiation. I wanted to say something about the 400-page manifesto, the Bible of sorts. I think the only reason that's, unique or getting talked about is because it's Bill Belichick. I would venture most coaches have a book that they have that is thick, that is a list of schedules, notes.
This is how we run practice. This is what
every day. I vividly remember I sat down with James Franklin when he was at Maryland under Ralph Friedgen, and I was like, are you ready? What steps are you? And he was like, he got all dramatic and he's like, am I ready? He's like, he pulled out a black binder like this and like threw it on the table. He goes, this is every day from, the moment the season ends to training camp to off-season workouts, all this. I mean, every single day they have mapped out. So I think it's gotten a lot of attention because it's Belichick. I would venture most coaches have a similar, black book, blue book, whatever it is that is loaded with notes, material, schedules. And then you add in there, your staff, who you would want to hire, your dream hires. You put resumes in there. But I don't think it's that unique. Everyone's like, oh, this is Belichick. I think most coaches have something similar.
You know who I don't think has that? Any new coach who's in his 30s. You know why? Because college football changes every 3 weeks. Like Ralph Friedgen wouldn't have that black book. You can't schedule anything out for a year in advance anymore because half your team is going to hit the portal as soon as the season comes to an end. You're going to have to bring in an entirely new roster. You can't schedule ahead. All you can do is react these days. You can be somewhat proactive, but you have to be on your toes. You can't sit there and be like, no, this is how we're going to do it, because they're going to tell you how it gets done, not the other way around anymore.
The other side of an argument here is Deion was an unprecedented hire. He had them in year 2 competing for a Big 12 title. And he got the full support of the university. He got the full support of the athletic department. Does
Steve's son play quarterback?
I'm just I'm providing context for.
I'm just asking, is Steve going to be the quarterback? Are they bringing in a number 1 5-star corner, superstar, unicorn kind of guy?
He might have Louis. He might have Louis luggage that he wants to bring.
I think
talent that wins.
I think Bill Belichick experience at North Carolina can lead to a lot of 3rd place finishes in the ACC.
Which is kind of what Mac Brown got you.
Yeah.
I think he'd get 8-9 wins. 8-9 wins.
No, I think he'd get 10. A lot of 10-2 seasons.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me. Not a lot, because he's not going to be there long. But and so that's the question is do you really it'll be fun. The attention will be insane. And when he leaves, you're going to look yourself in the mirror and say, was it worth it? It'll be a weekend at Vegas.
The difference, I think, in Deion, who had all this support, was Deion relates to today's player.
Yes.
His style, his confidence, his swag, his embrace. Give me all those cameras in the locker room. Let's have a concert. Let's have a rap. Let's have some rappers there before UCF. Let's do it after the game. That would concern me. And that's not something I asked Damian Harris about. And he was like, oh, I don't see it. And I do think that's why Saban got out. I don't think he related with today's player for the last several years of his tenure at Bama. I think it's harder than ever to kind of stay up. And I think Saban did a great job kind of adapting and still relating, but I think he finally lost it and was like, the players didn't respond because it was, they had so much more freedom to do other things.
I mean, I'm so ready for it to be over, just one way or another, because it's a story. It's the kind of story that, from people in our perspective, creates a lot of okay, we got to get ready to react to this story. So you've just been sitting on pins and needles. I'm ready for Bill Belichick to take his hands off my throat.
I'm surprised you guys didn't ask about my coaching book, my Bible.
Where's it from? Is it yours? Where's it from?
This is my offensive accountability. Look at that quarterback.
Oh, is that yours? You wrote it?
Manifesto right there.
That's literally yours? You didn't get the FSU job?
just in case. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to interview.
Or do we say, yeah, our friend Ryan in the tailgate, I know Bud has a manifesto.
Bud absolutely does. He's got about 5 of them.
It's all about CLV.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that was another joke I saw fly around. It's like, oh, so when Belichick does it, it's a Bible, but when Connor Stallions does it, it's a manifesto.
That's a great point.
All right. Any other sort of final thoughts here? Because again, like fluid situation. Bill Belichick, they could announce him as being the next head coach this afternoon, or they could announce he's withdrawn interest. There are other candidates that they would move on to, but when it comes to discussing actual contract details, as of yesterday afternoon, this was the only one they've got their sights on. But there are other names on the list that were part of that. It goes like 30 names. Then they got it down to like 10 to 12. And then of that 10 to 12, they're like Summerall pulls his name out. Campbell declines to speak. Like you've kind of narrowed your way to at least going through the priority list.
Who are we down to?
This is not intel. This is just me kind of connecting my own dots. Reports today that West Virginia is going to announce their coach in the next 24 hours. Everything I'd heard was Rich Rod and Monken. Monken has a pretty big game on Saturday. Mm-hmm. So if they're announcing it within 24 hours, makes me feel like that's going to end up being Rich Rod. After Monken plays on Saturday, maybe he becomes a little bit more available in Chapel Hill. And we just keep playing this game and rolling it out, and then done.
All right, we're deep into this. So if it gets clipped as a VOD, you're going to really have to watch it to get to this. Did y'all see the report that Belichick may have been offered the job by someone who doesn't have the ability to actually offer the job?
Yes. I believe it too.
It's getting closer to Tennessee.
That's my point. That's where those comparisons, like from coaches, agents, that's where those comps are coming from. The Auburn, Tennessee, because there is legitimate belief that the person who offered the gig has no right to offer the gig.
Oh, buddy. Oh, man. Okay. Well, we'll see.